works by Vivetti, and is also one that will be more developed in this presentation. And this one that is based on some autonomous factor, and this autonomous factor has increased the spread, the normal profit between these two rates, and have compensated the fall in the interest rate. So what is the scope of the paper? The scope of this paper is essentially trying to explain or give further causes of this development, and especially in the case of the United States. There will be a special focus on some factors. It will be managerial wage remuneration, because it was something that was put in as a possibility by Vivetti in paper from 2013, on monopoly power, but also on the way in which the fruits of technical progress are distributed in the state of capitalism. So I'll start this work by showing you also some empirical facts. But before starting this empirical detour, it's important to stress that what we can see exposed, so the profitability exposed, is only a rough indication of what is the expected profit of investment. Of course, there is this detachment between the normal profit and the actual profit. There are several reasons. Shaikh raised this question that clearly the investment of new plants cannot be, the return of new plants cannot be the same of other plants that already exist, so it's already an average. But also the fact that clearly, as stressed by Giacomo, market prices can differ from normal prices also for accidental temporary reason, also for prolonged period of time. Clearly, when the prices are different from the normal one, what we are seeing is different from the normal profit. Then, going to the empirical fact, we have clearly that in the last decades, since the 60s, there has been an important increase in the adjusted rate share, something that I guess we would know, in the US economy, and also at the same time there has been an important increase in the capital output ratio. As a consequence, the actual profit observed, that is this line, this graph is somehow similar to the first one I've shown. This line, this continuous line, is an ex-post profit rate, net return from net capital, so with depreciation. And we can see that there has been slight increase, so it's only more or less an estimation of the rather than the one we showed that was more flat. At the same time, we have several interest rates in the economy, as you know, and you can see that they have, as expected, moved together, the 10-year interest rate, but also other returns, for example, the AAA corporate bonds. They've all been declining. What is interesting to see is that since 2000, clearly there's been an increase in the spread between these returns. And but still, the difference between, for example, the AAA and the 10-year bond is not enough to maintain to not have this decoupling of the same. Makes the decoupling smaller, but it's still present, so it's still a relevant question, especially since we as I was saying, we have many rates, and depending on the focus of our research, the choice of rates changes. In our case, linked to the theory we will speak about in the next few minutes in the next section. We are interested in a long-term risk-free interest rate that can be imagined as an overall opportunity cost of employing capital productively. And as a consequence, we will use the 10-year treasury bonds adjusted by the GDP. So let's make a small detour explaining a bit more what is the theoretical framework in which this analysis is done. That is somehow the framework of the monetary theory of distribution, but also the framework of the surplus approach. In general, I would say that whatever is the closure we want to put on the surplus approach, we can write the system with this two equation that is clearly the diagonal matrix of the final output multiplied by the price of normal by the normal price vector, the technical coefficient matrix A multiplied by the profit rate, the labor coefficient vector multiplied by the wage rate. And then we have that the rate of profit is composed with some spread between the rate of profit and the interest rate. So this system clearly can be closed in different way because we have more unknown and we have to choose something. We can have a given profit rate, we can have a given wage rate, and also depending on if we want to follow a monetary determination of the interest rate, as is the case, the unknowns are like what is residual bias. In fact, if you look on the history of economic thoughts, for example, the classical economists and Marx, they both had the rate of profit determined by the means of production, so the matrix A with the labor coefficient vector, and by the wage rate. But while in Smith and Ricardo, the interest rate is a real magnitude, so there is no monetary interest rate because it's determined by this factor, and it follows hence the evolution of the profit rate. On Marx, as in Mill and Do, we have a monetary nature of the interest rate, and hence there is a not strong but still a present relationship between the interest rate and profit, where the profit acts as a ceiling for the monetary determining interest rate. Here there is no long relationship between the two because in the moment the profit rate is determined by real factor and the monetary rate is determined by monetary factor, the difference between the two is just what remains as it says. But in the moment we have that the real wage are above the subsistence level, we have the suggestion left over by Rafael, introduction of commodity by means of commodity, to take as a closure of the price system instead of the real wage, the rate of profit as influenced by the money rate. This is a famous quote in the strides of monetary distribution. Because in the moment we have this closure, the real rates appears as a residual, and clearly the rate of interest is still seen as a monetary phenomenon, as in Marx, Keynes, and whatever it is for the monetarist school. No, monetary school is yes. And clearly the interest rate is also a normal cost of production together with the money wage and the liquidity days. At the same time, we have the normal profit of enterprise, that is the spread between the profit rate and the interest rate, and these are a permanent phenomenon, contrary to be a more mainstream analysis, and represent a recent travel of employing capital productively, and I come back to the determinants of this normal profit of enterprise and some suggestions in the core of the presentation. Then, what is the last part is the rate of profit. The rate of profit is given as the sum of these two components, the interest rate and the normal profit enterprise. And we have that the real interest rate is the magnitude on which the power of the capitalist and worker are first resolved. Hence, this gives a different role, a change in the role played by the real interest rate, because it becomes the magnitude that regulates the price to money wage ratio. And but at the same time, it's important to keep in mind that since the real interest rate is affected by the course of the money wage and the wage bargaining, there is no mechanical relationship in this in the determination of income distribution, because we have to consider the relative strengths of the two parties involved. So at this point, we can go to the normal profit of enterprise. The normal profit of enterprise are seen as an objective elements or commonly perceived as objective that took place for long enough to be regarded as normal. This is the definition you can find, for example, in Pivot 91. The presence of normal profit of enterprise also leads to the possibility of different profit rates depending on the risk and trouble of employing capital productively in different sectors. And these differences will not disappear, but will be rather stable in certain periods of time. There is a wide variety of elements that can influence the normal growth of enterprise, and this has been somehow already stressed in some part of the literature, especially in the pioneers of this stream of approach that are Viveto and Panico. As I was saying, risk and travel. The travel part is essentially the link to the idea of the management, the idea of employing capital, and hence managerial wages should be, in a sense, part of this travel side of the risk and travel. At the same time, clearly, risk is something more linked to the degree of liquidity of the investment, also the fluctuation of the raw material and financial markets. Of course, the normal profit of enterprise are influenced by conventional habits, and this is linked especially to what happened in the last 22 decades with the institutionalization of risk that has been seen in the industrialized country as stress in the world by one. But there are other factors that can influence the normal profit of enterprise, and these are, for example, monopoly on a new machine granted to its inventor, or the technical advantage stemming from the cycle of manufacturing, ensuring that the costs are lower than the average or normal prices. Clearly, this oligopolistic future technically should be fluid over time in a Schumpeterian motion of constant destruction and recreation of through the active force of competition of these oligopolistic things. But there are some monopoly power that can persist through time, and if they persist, they ensure higher profit in various industries at the expense not only of other capitalists, but also at the expense of other social groups through a price to money wage ratio that will be higher than the one in free competition. Clearly, the mechanism through which the fruits of capitalism are distributed between wages and profit change over time and are subject to legislation and institutional factors. And as the clear example is patent legislation that can delay the diffusion of this method of production. So before getting into what are what is this paper and what we try to say this paper, the role played by monopoly, factor, and patents in this increase in the spread. I would spend just a few words on managerial wages because this was a suggestion stressed by Vivetti as a possible solution to the problem. And even though managerial wages increased consistently between the 80s and the 2000s, however, it doesn't seem to fit well the narrative because the increase has been mainly between the 80s and the early 2000s, while the important part of the decoupling has been slightly later after the 2000s. So there's a mismatch in time. And at the same time, it's important to stress that in the estimation we are making, and what I've shown, if we want to include managerial wages in the travel parts of the risk and travel and the normal profit of the enterprise, the fall in the wage share will be even stronger, and the coupling between the interest rate and the profit rate will be even higher. So it will not solve the problem, but just add another layer. On the other hand, there are other components apart from the one that this paper develops in the last part that could have influenced the normal profit of enterprise. And these are, for example, the volatility on the transitional income, the increase in the debt to income ratio that occurred since 2000, especially in the private sector after the fall in top economy, and also the role played by risk premium, where according to the estimation by Faringorio, for example, the risk premium can account half of the increase in the profitability compared to the interest rate in the period. Of course, this half is not enough because we need the full part, so only partial. Hence, the core of the paper is trying to delve a bit on this monopoly. There are several works, empirical works that deal with this thing, like the one from Michele and Bond, the one from Motor, the one from Developer. And they all show that since the 80s there has been an increase in the, and especially after 2000, there has been an increase in the monopoly powers and with higher markups in industries where the process of capital and power concentration has been higher and the antitrust force has been lower. For example, this is something that happens overall in the economy, but if you look, for example, even just at the manufacturing sector, and we plot the Heffish index for the 50 largest company at each levels for the US, we've seen that the average of the manufacturing sector has been increasing from a level of around 1,500, is usually a representation of a slightly concentrated market, to a value more closer to 2,000, around 1,900. It is a synonym of a more moderately concentrated market. Another sector, for example, among the examples that shows this higher increase in concentrations in the banking sector, where the percentage of assets held by the commercial bank, by the 5 largest commercial banks, has increased by 15% over the total, and now it's close to 50%. This is clearly a process is the result of a process of the regulation, so it's something also institutional. It's not it's something linked to the institutional evolution of the system. And clearly there is and this is really shown in this diagram. And the most visible results are clearly these mega banks, these big companies to manage institutions that are endogenous center of financial stability in the system. Also, another sector where there has been an increase in concentration and monopoly power is, for example, the financial sector, where although there is this rhetoric of privatization of finance, over 90% of the representative US publicly listed firms have blockholders, who are someone exerting control. And since the 2000s, but especially since the 70s, but especially since the 2000s, there has been an increase in the concentration where the shareholders have moved from a pension fund or household to asset management company, and this, especially considering these asset management companies, there is the rise on the share of firms owned by the Big 3 on the Standard & Poor's 500, this Big 3 are left on 100 States 3, that has reached over 20%, for example, in 2017. Another path that has been used to maintain or achieve a dominant position in the economy is the use of intellectual property rights and intangible assets. There has been a big debate in the last decades. And because, of course, even though knowledge is a non-rival good and the idea can be shared without having any crowding out effect on it, if there is a legal framework that creates a system where knowledge is excludable, this becomes marketable and tried. And the crowding out effect is there. There has been various steps in this privatization of knowledge. For example, in a metropolitan state agreement, in the US, it's important to stress the trade law in the 80s and the steps that has followed it, that has allowed the privately patents of the results of the outcome of the university, so the outcome of publicly funded research. And this is important because it's linked to another highly concentrated industry, is the pharmaceutical sector. Clearly, this represents a mode of accumulation where the legislation of the governments assure the maintenance of this monopolistic power at the time. and the projector of this intangible asset gives some advantages to the monopolist trends. And as exposed in the book from Rita, the subordinate, the laggard innovator is subordinate, and there is a reinforcement of the knowledge monopoly and a perpetuation of the leadership. What that makes sense that the dominant position, once achieved, is strengthened, and the same monopoly power is maintained through time. And there is some empirical evidence, for example, by URE, putting the threshold exactly in 2000, is the moment when this decoupling starts, found effectively a shift towards intellectual monopolization. And I would conclude somehow this bigger part of the presentation, showing a simple graph, a really basic graph of the number of patent application influences into that firm. And we can see that in 2000 there has been an important increase in the number of patents, and you see somehow as a proxy, a really vague proxy of intellectual monopolization, that has increased of around 200,000. And we can see here that the increase is steeper in the moment we are more, we observe this decoupling. So concluding, we have a significant increase. I'm trying to show that there has been a significant increase in the presence of monopoly power in the US economy over the last decades. And this has been helped through the reinforcement of the process of centralization of corporate control, and especially aided by the financial sector and the intangible assets. One of the aspects of this process is the increasing use of patents that could have also affected the normal profit of enterprise, and hence been an explanation of this decoupling. Clearly, also there is this possibility of also an indirect effect, that is that with also other factors, the increase in monopoly power have favored a weakening of the workers' strengths in the wage bargaining, leading to a distribution of the technical progress to greater extent to profit rather than wages. What is somehow the conclusion is that in this environment of a central bank pursuing near zero nominal interest rate, with the increase in monopolization of monopoly power and all the other factors that I'm trying to expose, the relationship between the interest rates fixed by the monetary authority and the profit rate may pass through a different mechanism than the classical one that's present in the monetary theory distribution, still without being inconsistent with the monetary theory distribution itself. And the field is also, there can be also further research and other things, as is stressed by Vivek, where the possibility, he notes the possibility that the opportunity cost of capital may have moved to the equity ratio and also to other financial factors. Thank you for your attention. I hope you have some nice questions.
Thank you very much, Giacomo. I was a bit representative. So what do you think? Should we also do the comments and questions in English? Or I think it's better.
Maybe,
Can you? What do you think?
if you can, if you take 5 minutes,
I think it's better.
somehow yes, but I don't want to force anyone, like maybe, don't hate me too much, but the comment, yes, the questions can be important because it's not like shorter in case I can ask you to translate.
Yeah, okay. I think that works well. Então, o Luiz faz os comentários em inglês também, para poder ter algo melhor, depois a gente abre para debate amplo. E aí acho que pode fazer intervenções em português, em inglês, para depois a gente traduz.
Mas tradução simultânea de tudo junto.
Uma vez que eu fiz o contrário, o professor dava aula em português, eu tinha Já. A gente está com tempo, então fica tranquilo aí. Quer dizer, você vai falar. Não, fica tranquilo, mas não tanto.
Pode falar.
Não.
Eu acho que vai ser um pouco mais. Eu poderia fazer, eu vou preparar uma apresentação também.